I didn't want to just be a bodybuilding champion. I wanted to be the best bodybuilder of all times. Dig deep down and ask yourselves, who do you want to be? Not what, but who. I'm talking about figuring out for yourselves what makes you happy. You have to think outside the box. That's what I believe. After all, what is the point of being on this earth if all you want to do is be liked by everyone and avoid trouble? We have so many rules in life about everything. I say break the rules, not the law, but break the rules. I remember that after I was finished with my bodybuilding career, I wanted to get into acting. I wanted to be a star in films. Everyone had the same mind that it can't be done. Just look at your body. You have this huge, monstrous body, overly developed, that doesn't fit into the movies. But, I didn't listen to all this. These were their rules. I was convinced I could do it. And then I got the big break in Conan the Barbarian. Trust yourself no matter what anyone else thinks.
Hello, I'm Davon Green, and today I'm going to inform the audience on working out. What I'm going to talk about in this presentation is what lifting is, the history of lifting. I'm going to talk about popular bodybuilders, why lifting weights, why would you lift weights, so some pros and cons of it, and the Mr. Olympia competition. So, what is lifting? I've done some research and I found the definition. It is the practice of strengthening and enlarging the muscles of the body through exercise. It is the sport or activity of lifting barbells or other heavy weights. And some things that it's also called is weight training, strength training, bodybuilding, powerlifting, and working out. So next would be the history of lifting. It can be traced back to the beginning of recorded history. It is a means to measure strength and power. Another definition is the sport or activity of lifting barbells or other heavy weights. Lifting is also defined or called weight training, strength training, bodybuilding, powerlifting, and working out. From there we're going to move on to the history of lifting. Lifting can be traced back to the beginning of recorded history, and back then it was a means to measure strength and power, and it was practiced by Egyptians and the Greek societies. It was developed as an international sport primarily in the 19th century, and it was one of the few sports at the 1896 Athens Games. In the history of lifting, there's a time period, it's called the early period, and it was from around 1890 to 1929. And pretty much at this point in time, the goal of it was to amaze crowds with amazing feats of strength. So lifting or bodybuilding sort of began with a man by the name of Eugene Sandow. He is known as the first famous bodybuilder, and he was born in 1967. He started his career off in Europe as a professional strongman. He then traveled to America in the 1890s, and he sold out audiences by impressing them with his extraordinary strength. He earned thousands of dollars doing this, and by that he pretty much created bodybuilding. So from here I'm going to go on to popular bodybuilding or bodybuilders today, and you have to start out with Lee Haney and Ronnie Coleman. Right now these guys hold the most Mr. Olympia titles, and I'll explain exactly what Mr. Olympia is later, but they both stand at 8. Lee Haney won his from 1984 to 1991, and Ronnie Coleman won his from 1998 through 2005. We're going to continue with some more popular ones. Arnold Schwarzenegger, everyone knows him. He's won 5 Mr. Olympias from 1970 through 75, and his bodybuilding took him to become governor and, of course, his acting career. Jay Cutler, he won Mr. Olympia 4 times from 2006, 2007, 2009, and 2010. He's very popular in the bodybuilding world. There's also a guy named Phil Heath. He is currently the reigning champ. He's won the last 4 Mr. Olympia, so from 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014. And Kai Green, who I would have to say is my favorite. He hasn't won a Mr. Olympia, but he's been the runner-up for the last couple of years. So he kind of has a rivalry with Phil Heath. And I'd say he's my favorite because he simply views bodybuilding as an art. So now we'll move on to why you would lift weights, which is pros and cons. So strength training is often looked at as something bad due to it being different, and everyone's myths and beliefs on that. Everyone who works out uses steroids, things like that. So to inform my audience on why a person would lift weights, I've done research on some pros and cons. So the pros, it strengthens the body, of course. It allows a person to maintain a healthy weight and a healthy body composition. It also improves the quality of life and disease resistance. It can boost a person's confidence, and it can also help them deal with stress. Some cons. Unfortunately, it can cause injury. It definitely can be expensive with things like supplements and maybe trainers, things like that, and it is time consuming. Those are the pros and cons and why a person would lift. Next, I'm going to explain Mr. Olympia. Mr. Olympia is the title awarded to the winner of the Professional Men's Bodybuilding Contest. It was created on the 18th of September 1965. That's when the first one was, and it was created by Joe Weider, who was a Canadian bodybuilder. I've already said that the record of number of wins is held by Lee Haney and Ronnie Coleman at 8. This is virtually the Super Bowl of bodybuilding contest. It's the biggest one, and its purpose is really to allow the best bodybuilders to compete against one another and win a cash prize. That about sums up my informative speech on weightlifting. Source-wise, I want to credit Steven Tuzer for the Arnold motivational video, bodybuilding.com for a lot of info, and also a Lyra blog for a lot of info as well. Thank you.